Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Friday, July 18th, 2025. TGIF. TGIF. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I always say thank God it's Friday on Friday, kind of old school. And we've got so much news to cover here, so I'll just jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So I'm so glad to be back with you here on a Friday. Thanks so much for coming back to the channel, and thank you to everybody supporting the channel. You make it happen. I appreciate all of the financial support, the comments, the love, the prayers, all of it. And I want to just say thank you. So we're going to jump in. I'll put on the glasses. We have so many incredible things that have happened here in the last couple days. And I think the biggest one coming out this evening, of course, is Tulsi Gabbard's release of the original intelligence assessment to do with the origins of Crossfire Hurricane. And this is huge. And people just want to gloss over and think, oh, 10 years ago, why do we care about this? Well, you have Stephen Miller coming out. He's the deputy chief of staff for Trump, the excellent analyst, and of course, responsible for so much policy, etc. Where Stephen Miller's come out and said, we need Barack Obama and all involved in Russiagate coup to be prosecuted for sedition and treason. So that's huge. So Tulsi Gabbard is the big hero here, who has basically, and we've been hearing about this for several days, where it's been coming out, where they are opening up this investigation, of course, into Comey, former FBI, and of course, Maureen Comey fired. That's amazing. That's also a huge thing to do with Epstein et al. Maureen Comey fired. But we've got James Comey, Brennan Clapper, all of them being investigated here, and it reaches now into Barack Obama. And this is Tulsi Gabbard doing huge heavy lifting, where she put out, not just to mainstream media, but totally on all social media, the full documentation of the original intelligence assessment in 2016 after Trump was elected in December, basically showing that on December 9th, you had Barack Obama meet with the officials of intelligence, CIA, FBI, etc., where they were going to bring the Steele dossier, etc., into the mix to provide a false assessment of the election, of the 2016 election, put forth the whole Russiagate baloney. Russia interfered in the election. The original assessment said that there was actually no interference in the election, and that actually, Trump won, etc. And when they tried to put this out, and you had Brennan, CIA Director Brennan, come out and say, I'm going to put out this Steele dossier, even though even though the CIA is telling me, well, we know it's bogus, it's totally fake, etc. Well, it all originates with this meeting with Barack Obama, and this was December 9th, 2016, and that they faked the intelligence assessment. They kept the daily briefing on intelligence from President Trump, as he was already president-elect at that time, and then replaced it with this fake assessment to do with this bogus Russia narrative that they've then pushed and tried to create a coup all through President Trump's first presidency. So huge, huge, huge. It's going to get into the 2020 election. It's going to keep growing and growing. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is, of course, Tulsi Gabbard, DNI. And what was one of the only things that President Obama had said to Trump when he was first met with him. He said, just don't bring in General Michael Flynn as your director of national intelligence. And of course, we know why. And so this is really, really huge, massive. We have people like DC Drano, who's always, just on top of everything. He basically has come out and said that, the reason that the whole raid on Mar-a-Lago, this is going to play deeply into this, in this investigation, the raids on President Trump, all of these illegal raids, that the main reason for that raid on Mar-a-Lago was to find these Crossfire Hurricane documents that DNI Gabbard has just made public to the entire world. And they never found them in the Mar-a-Lago raid. And President Trump kept them safe, which he was absolutely privy to as, of course, the president. And so very, very exciting stuff. Really incredible, actually. And this is, just making it fully solid that we're now getting into an investigation into sedition and treason, attempted coup to do with Hillary Clinton, the Steele dossier, Russiagate, all of it, and Barack Obama brought straight into the mix here. This is as they've been trying to do all of the Epstein stuff. Of course, we saw the Wall Street Journal put out the ridiculous letter of Trump. Wrote this letter to Epstein saying, every day a new secret on his 50th birthday. I mean, if I had to, wish for there to be a more stupid thing to be about Epstein Gate to do with Trump, that would be the most ridiculous thing. We all know by the time of that President Trump had already disavowed their friendship, already kicked him off the properties, all of this. And even though President Trump did come out on Truth Social and say, I don't do drawings, this is ridiculous, etc., we do know that President Trump does do drawings. I think he actually sold one drawing, or he didn't sell it, somebody sold a drawing they had of him. It's just a squiggly doodle thing of, because in that letter there was like this doodle of a naked woman. Okay. And basically, I think there was a drawing of Trump of the Empire State Building. He's a man who plans skyscrapers, and so creating very basic drawings is something you do while you're imagining things. But anyway, I think it sold for like $16,000. So not entirely true that no drawings at all. That's a total aside. And we also have Pam Bondi now on Trump's direction, basically saying that, yes, we're putting in we're putting in directing the DOJ to basically unseal, to pursue through getting a judge approval to unseal all the sealed documents to do with Maureen Comey's handling of what was, of course, Bill Barr's charging instrument of Epstein, and everything to do with Ghislaine Maxwell's grand jury testimonies, all of this unsealed, things to do with the search warrants, to do with Epstein. This will all be very revealing. And I'll just say again, it's all really, really great, and great to get as much information possible and available as possible. However, I don't think it will lead down the rabbit hole that everybody is wishing, that has to do with the intelligence held by Mossad, MI6, CIA at all. That is a whole other game to do with digital capture of everything that went on in these blackmail operations of Epstein, et al. Okay, that will be harder to get at. We know that, of course, we have with the firing of Maureen Comey, very, very great. She, screaming, oh, it's so unjust, and et cetera, et cetera. Finally got rid of her. We know that the head of the field office there in the Southern District of New York, the FBI field office, he said, I'm a Marine. We're going to dig in. We're going to resist Trump. And a lot of this destruction of Epstein documents they had, files that they tried to do as much as possible. So it's an ongoing thing. And I applaud everybody's efforts of wanting to get to the bottom of it, even though so much of it is already known. And there's so much more to tackle here as we go forward. And but I totally support everybody digging down into it, because as we look at this full conspiracy that we saw Emile Bove and Judge Jeanine Pirro, they went through the confirmation process in the Senate yesterday. And the Senate did go and pass those confirmations for both of them. Emile Bove was for the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is fantastic. And of course, Judge Jeanine Pirro being in the position as U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia, which is huge because this investigation to do with Gabbard will probably originate with her. And then, of course, we're hearing a special counsel is coming. I'm hoping it's Ed Martin. He is, of course, the man in charge at the DOJ, one of the deputy AGs there for the weaponization of government. And so this is, what this is. And so basically, we're going to be seeing just a huge run out here of treason and sedition to do with Barack Obama, the weaponized government of that right through the Biden administration. And it needs to go right through the Biden administration. Of course, we're seeing with, of course, the auto pen scandal, which Trump referenced today as he was signing the Genius Act, which is a whole other can of worms. Basically, he said, the biggest scandal in history, and we're seeing one after another, whether it's Anthony Banal, the chief of staff for Jill Biden, who also pled the fifth. They're all just pleading the fifth now. Today, there was another one who pled the fifth. And basically, what needs to happen is some of these people need to be granted immunity. Maybe the ones who didn't plead the fifth have been granted immunity, which led us to the revelation of Jeff Zients as the chief of staff there for Biden being so much involved at the top levels of this. But, and then we get Lisa Monaco. Trump's always calling out Lisa Monaco because he knows from the original Crossfire Hurricane documents that he was privy to how much Lisa Monaco was involved in the origination of all of this at that time. So it's huge, it's massive, and it's going down. And so it's very exciting, and I'm very thrilled about it all. We also have this incredible information coming out about the revelation of Microsoft. That is, they have Microsoft's U.S. government Azure software that has been in operation since Barack Obama mandated it to go into all U.S. government services, all of the machinations of the digital world of the government is now run by Microsoft Azure. And we've seen so many hackings and things to do with Medicare, so many different, that the CCP had captured, billions of digital IDs and information to do with the US government. All of this, okay, has come out through this. And we have Tom Schiller, who is originally from the Navy, then went to the US Air Force and the cyber team. And he has been coming out as a whistleblower over a while now, but he did a huge expose on Laura Loomer today, which I'll link below for you to watch for yourself, but basically explaining how the CCP, at least 90%, probably more, was the tech support team, okay, for Microsoft's Azure software. Okay, so every person with a national security clearance and all of the federal government, all using Microsoft Azure, had as its tech support team who had access constantly to every time you used a VPN, you set up a chat, a talk, you did anything. It was literally through administrative authority. You had this CCP tech support team and also other H-1B visas. And we know with Barack Obama, he brought in the tons and tons of people from the Muslim countries, okay, to be part of tech support in the US government hugely by the tens and tens of thousands. And so we're looking at what has been the backdooring of all of the intelligence systems, the DOD, Pete Hegseth's looking into it. This is a huge, huge deal where we're looking at Microsoft's Azure software being totally monitored and stolen, recorded, not to mention all the data inside and the people involved. So many different conspiracies that have come out, the identifying of CIA agents, the identifying of all, thousands and thousands of people across the federal government. And now we might know why, okay? Microsoft's Azure, US government Azure software. So that's coming out huge, and I'll link below where you can watch for yourself to get your own take on it. Very important stuff. And so I also want to get into, of course, the passing of the Genius Act, but I will mention real quick, we did have, of course, the massive drone assault by Ukraine on Russia today. huge, massive drone assault attack. And this comes right as we're hearing that supposedly the DoD is going to be making a huge purchase of drones from Ukraine. Excuse me, what? This is like all backwards. That the USA is going to purchase a ton of drones from Ukraine. And you watch mainstream media and they're like, oh, these people, they're so inventive. They just started building these, like, it was all just like, Steve Jobs in their garages. They were building drones. It's so ridiculous. They came up with such incredible things, these drones. No. Okay, we're back to Israel. We're back to intelligence. We're back to all of these backdooring of getting, again, Mossad into our drone system, which is going to be huge and massive. Okay, going forward, where drones, drone systems are going to be used for everything. And of course, the horror is, of course, drone attacks here in the United States. We did have a very interesting, what looked like the stopping of an FF attack in LA today, where you had at a sheriff's office, at a sheriff's patrol station, LASD, LA Sheriff's Department, where basically there was some sort of incendiary device that was live. Okay, they tried to, and exploded, and it killed 3 sheriff's deputies in LA. And, at first they tried to claim, oh, this is just we were doing a training exercise, okay, with a live munitions incendiary device. No, and they backpedaled that real quick. And it looks like what was meant to be some sort of FF, I would imagine, probably to do with ice, to do with some explosion. And instead it was exploded, must have been detonated, and killed 3 sheriff deputies. So that'll be a growing story, which I'm sure we'll have a lot more to cover on next week, but that just happened. And I just bring that up now, just saying that, when we look at this drone technology and what's coming, or how that incendiary device even could have been detonated, triggered remotely, there's going to be all kinds of also the deterrence for drones. And we get into microwave deterrence, right? And we get directed energy weapon laser deterrence. There's all of this that's going to become more and more, okay, part of our lives, which we wish it wouldn't. We really wish it wouldn't be part of our lives at all. And yet it is unstoppable in the ongoing desire for mayhem and destruction that goes on with the powers that be in the global cabal, as they vie for control over our lives. And so it's very disturbing. And of course, on top of that, I'll just say there is massive stuff going on here with Ireland to do with Israel making a massive push into Ireland with the same APAC situation as here in the US. And they, of course, as there's only 4 million plus people in Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and they've been faced with a massive Muslim invasion by the EU cabal, and connected with Israel. And there's this huge situation where they have the EU-Israel cooperation agreement that has been resisted by Ireland and also Spain. I've been talking about this for the last month or so. And now we're just seeing a huge, huge push into Ireland of massive influence by Israel, trying to get control of Ireland. And the way they do that is they invade you with tons of Muslims, okay? They destroy your culture, your Christian culture. We just saw, of course, yesterday, the Christian church in Gaza, the Latin Mass Catholic church in Gaza, blown up by accident by a tank that shot at it 3 times, but it was an accident, a literal frontal assault, tank, shooting, waiting, shooting again, destroying the whole thing, and only the cross was left standing. 3 Christians killed, okay, and 10 injured. But these are all mistakes as Israel tries to take over Ireland with their influence and power, who is resisting this EU-Israel cooperation agreement that they know is part of this whole push to drag us all into World War III, as they're standing up hugely to fight the Muslim invasion of Ireland, the most Catholic country outside of Italy, outside of Rome, is Ireland. And of course, it's no mistake that that Latin Mass church that was bombed by Israel and destroyed and killed Christians was a Latin Mass church, and not, you know, specifically Latin. They can't stand Latin. Latin is a language that they, you know, that the devil cannot handle. Okay, it is literally the language of exorcism, but it is abhorred, okay, by non-Christians who are fighting for power, and by the devil, and by, you know, the demons. So very disturbing that we see that church destroyed in Gaza. Trump was deeply disturbed, says Caroline Leavitt, and the press secretary yesterday. And it is very, you know, it's awful. Okay. We're seeing that we saw a collapse in Netanyahu's government yesterday, or the day before yesterday, where basically he's running a minority government now in Israel, where almost the Likud party is becoming the lesser, almost the moderate party in Israel, because of the massive extreme Zionist people and parties that are coming in here. We're seeing in Gaza where they're doing the destruction efforts there, where they're paying people something like $11,000 a month, depending on the contracts they have, that are coming out of the real extreme settler areas of Israel to come and do demolition cleanup in Gaza, and when they have paramilitary with them shooting people, so they get paid to demolish buildings there, etc. And we're just seeing this massive Zionist crazy town in Israel now at this point. So it is very disturbing. So okay, let's go on. So we also have this very interesting thing I wanted to mention. This has to do with Margie Taylor Greene, who absolutely stood up against this Genius Act, which I'm going to get back to here in a moment, which did pass and was signed today, and didn't protect against the CBDC rollout, although Trump said, my executive order stands. He said it today. I'll get into that in a moment. But I wanted to mention Carrie Lake here with Voice of America, where she was bringing to all of our attentions that they had a man employed by Voice of America, and we did get the rescission package and got, you know, NPR and the defunding of PBS. But basically, what Carrie Lake is saying as the director in charge there at Voice of America, that there was a man who had been for 18 months threatening Marjorie Taylor Greene's family, her staff, herself with death threats, kidnapping, shooting, etc. And they finally arrested this guy and identified that he was at Voice of America. He was arrested in Maryland, and he had been a volunteer reserve officer for a police force in Maryland, now terminated from that volunteer job. And he had been on an administrative leave as of recently, and was on the termination list. And basically, they were able to track him down and arrest him. And just unbelievable. This is the stay over deep state crazy town that they are confronting every day and dealing with. And it's just very, very disturbing. And so going on from there, I will get into this situation of the Genius Act. And we have new legislation that is supposed to protect us all from the CBDCs, okay, that they had to create something, a new legislation, a single bill, which it all should be single bills, of course, in my estimation, but they do have a new single bill they're putting out to try to just, to make the public feel okay that we're not going to put all your financial currency into a central bank digital currency. Well, should I jump to that? I think I will. I'll go to the new legislation first. This is the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, okay? And it should just be called the Anti-CBDC Act, right? It should just be it should just codify what Trump said. We're banning CBDCs, but it doesn't. And the Genius Act doesn't either. And also what was removed from the Genius Act, which Marjorie Taylor Greene went up against, Rand Paul and others, as far as Senate and House. But basically, there's also this chain of custody issue with the anonymity of having, crypto that isn't traced and isn't followed, etc. That was also basically removed in the Genius Act as well from the Senate. And Mike Johnson wouldn't allow there to be even any rule changes, for there to be amendments put in the House to try to fight back against the Senate, push through, because it's going to supposedly pretty much allow stablecoins to be backing the US dollar. Okay, so it's just kind of a hijack of crypto to promote sort of the Ponzi scheme that is the US fiat currency. And I get it, why they're doing it, but it is hijacking what people wanted and hoped would be, of course, a currency that was free of any government intervention. That was always a good luck with that scenario, but it's being touted as, yay, America's going to be the crypto center of the world, where really they're kind of hijacking crypto to back the dollar that they're desperately trying to keep as the world's reserve currency. But back to the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, and this is it basically doesn't fully disallow okay, a CBDC. And we got to get into Jerome Powell, who we have Anna Paulina Luna now trying to bring up on prosecution charges for lying to Congress to do with the huge remodel of the Palace of Versailles, which is the new Federal Reserve building. Crazy, $2.5 billion remodel there. But HR1919, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, is hosted by Emmer, Representative Emmer out of Minnesota. There's like 135 co-sponsors. Everybody's like, yeah, we'll allow this to happen, even though we, made sure it wasn't in the Genius Act. The Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, it says it protects financial privacy and constitutional liberties of every American. The U.S. will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency, and this is the big part here, that could be used to surveil, control, or deplatform American citizens. Okay, so it doesn't say that it will never allow a CBDC. It says it won't allow a CBDC that will surveil, control, or deplatform American citizens. Surveil, control, or deplatform. Okay. So they're basically kind of saying, well, we won't have a social credit score system. We won't use your finances to lock you out of, social media or, being online. It doesn't say that it won't make sure that you don't have to have a digital ID. It doesn't say that, there's a lot of, I'll link both the White House summation of it and the actual congressional bill. It's very wispy, the congressional bill, okay? There should be it should be one of these 10 pages bills, but it's like a page. And you'll read below, it's missing a lot of stuff. And then it says it prohibits Federal Reserve from developing or issuing a CBDC without explicit authorization from Congress, okay? So again, this is a watered down version of Trump's executive order that was meant to be codified in what was the original Genius Act that got removed. And now we're hearing it prohibits, this new legislation prohibits the Federal Reserve from developing or issuing a CBDC without explicit authorization from Congress. Well, if you have 135 co-sponsors for this, act, just think how many would get on board to allow that to happen. It's very disturbing. It says the USA will lead the world in digital asset innovation without ever adopting the tools of a surveillance state. Okay, very hopeful sounding, but not, pretty words don't codify protection as we have from our Constitution. So just letting you know that, linked below so you can read both the White House summary and the actual congressional act yourselves. Very important and disturbing. Okay, so going on from there, I want to, I think mention again. Well, no, I'll go into the Genius Act. So Trump signing the Genius Act today, basically, it was all just, everybody's there. It's Tether. It's all of them. Okay, all the bigs from the crypto world were there, and Trump's just like, oh, you're all amazing, love you, and he just basically said this dollar-backed stable coins, are going to provide a way to use crypto, and this part's true and good, but it kind of already exists. So like now it's just dollar-backed, okay. For ultra low cost instant transactions, okay? Basically saying this is the decentralization of transactions. But that already existed, okay, with Bitcoin or other things, fairly instant transactions. But now it is kind of hostage to the dollar. And what they're doing here in this Genius Act. And I get it, we're fighting for our lives. This is kind of like a Bretton Woods, it's like a Bretton Woods without everybody else. Okay, it's like just a taking over. We're gonna go in now. We're doing the digital cryptocurrency is going to be the thing we're grabbing to get the U.S. economy to survive here with the dollar and fight the BRICS. And Trump also said, we're putting 10% tariff on all the BRICS countries, to every nation that's involved with BRICS. And he said, I signed an executive order to ban CBDCs on January 31st, and it will be codified in this coming legislation that I just read to you. But it really doesn't ban it. It says that if Congress wants to, they can do it. Okay. And so this is what we're dealing with. David Sachs, the crypto czar, Trump's crypto czar, basically said, this Genius Act is going to lock American dominance in crypto across the world, and every dollar in a crypto wallet will equal a US dollar held in the world. Okay, so it's just another way of saying that they're attaching the US dollar to crypto. So yeah, that's what we've got, and it is I think like a Bretton Woods without the people, without anybody else. It's just the USA making a play for crypto control. And as I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. I like free money for people to be able to exchange trade value based on goods that are, worthy on each side. But this is, of course, we're dealing with the massive economies of the world, and we're in a huge fight. And so I get it, but it is squirrely at best, with the CBDC anti-CBDC Surveillance Act being very wanting as we look at it more and more. So there's that. So I wanted to mention a couple other things here before I sign off for tonight. We've got multiple other situations, and I also wanted to mention the name of that church that I talked about, the Holy Family Catholic Church that was bombed 3 times by a tank by accident in Israel, killing 3 Christians and wounding 10 others. The Holy Family Catholic Church in a Latin Mass, and they're going after it everywhere. And so it is very, very disturbing. But I want to get back into what happened with the NGOs, because we're having huge situations here with the NGOs, and Clay Higgins is doing a great job here in Congress, where he had that hearing the other day, where he is basically going after the NGOs, trying to take away their tax-free status. And he basically, Clay Higgins, he's going for Mayorkas, and he's working his way up. And he said basically to the NGOs, he said, get ready to wear orange jumpsuits for your role in the invasion treason in this country and what you're doing here. Basically, he quoted that 70% of the kidnapped sex slave children that were brought into this country were set up and run by NGOs. Okay, so then we get into, again, Hayes, we get into Jill Biden with the Save the Children out of Guatemala. We get into Michelle Obama's chief of staff, who got put into what used to be the Lutheran Charities that they renamed. Those Lutheran Charities renamed in Hayes were the only I think also Catholic Charities, the Catholic Charities, they were the only ones allowed to run children, okay, unaccompanied minors through the country. So Clay Higgins is on a real hunt here after these people, and I hugely support him. You should too. Give him an attaboy in the Congress. There is very, very important, going after these NGOs, because they have about 35,000 kids that ICE has actually recovered, which is great. But that's less than 10%. It's less than 2% of the reality of what's going on out there. But it is amazing that it is happening, and it is a priority. And we also have a huge win that I'm going to get to here in a second, to do with the incredible news to do with the WHO pandemic treaty. That, yes, we just had a huge win. But I wanted to tell you about this organization called A Million Rising. This is exactly the type of people that Clay Higgins is going after, to do with NGOs that are connected to the ICE riots, etc. And this is this organization called A Million Rising, and this gets into Jayapal and the whole the Kennedy Center, the Harvard-related Kennedy Center, MIT, all of it to do with this training for getting people into what they call strategic non-cooperation. Strategic non-cooperation means violence, okay? And this Million Rising movement that they're funding. And I told you the other day that we had the owner of the do I have that in front of me? Adam Swart, the CEO of Crowds on Demand, that he's been offered recently $20 million to produce crowds at these No Kings and Free America riots that they're putting on. Well, this is one of the groups called A Million Rising, where they're trying to find 1 million people and train them how to basically do subterfuge and sabotage at work, where they work. Okay, this is literally an insurrection. Like, this literally is an insurrection, like 100%. That is imagine, like, if it was, in the 50s, if you were literally saying, I'm going to go to work and attack what I can do through work to basically take down America, that's insurrection. Like, that just is. That's the definition of it. And this 1 Million Rising, they're saying they want to build a force bigger than fear. And it is under a group called Democracy Aid. And they're using these CIA old documents that had to do with all of the Cultural Revolution stuff that they've done all over the world. And so this is what's going on. They have these simple sabotage documents, how to do simple sabotage at work, to be part of this strategic non-cooperation, as they try to bring in the Mamdamis, and there's so many other strategically placed, basically all Muslim, um, insurgents, communists, to take vital roles in government. And it's just, it's crazy and insane, but it's real. And I'll see what I can link below about that, but just very, very disturbing. And so the big win we had today, which is just so important and just cannot be, this is a huge win. We thank people who have worked so hard to fight the World Health Organization, including President Trump. Okay, totally defunding it. He had removed us from the WHO last term. This time he has totally defunded it. But today we have this huge win where both under Trump's authorization through the State Department and the HHS, we have the official rejection of the USA to the 2025 treaty amendments. Okay, the deadline was tomorrow. So here at the 11th hour, they have the US citing US sovereignty, saying we will not agree to the World Health and Assembly amendments. And those amendments, I will link below a great detail. James Roguski has been so great at this. I'll link his Substack, and I'll also link the New American article. They detail it out so much. This was to do with, in a pandemic situation, the UN can come in with the WHO and basically seize property, everything, round you up, put you in camps, medical martial law, bring the UN troops onto US soil to do the work of the WHO, forced vaccinations, obviously, digital IDs, just total awful, the worst of the worst scenario. And so that was amazing. And we have, of course, RFK Jr. Firing huge top aides recently, trying to get the deep state out of HHS, hiring a new top advisor, and just fighting this. So that is very exciting. The WHO win is amazing. Official rejection of the U.S. to the WHO pandemic treaty amendments of 2025. And this has been an ongoing multi-year fight. And so to have this win is huge. And I think it's a great way to leave you here today. There's always so much more to say, but I try to just kind of roll it all up in a flow of the big stuff that's going on. And so, let's be thankful and prayerful that we have such a great team here that is doing so much important work. I do not want to be captured by a CBDC or digital ID of any kind, and I think that is still where we need to really, really get out there fighting. What can be coming here with the capture of the financial system by digital tech, as the AI rollout and the massive trillions of, the Arab countries and everybody coming in to build infrastructure where they have their own, they have their own energy plants. And I'm firmly somebody who believes that all energy plants should be public utilities that aren't owned by the Rothschilds somewhere out there in the EU cabal. But basically, this is the fight we're in. So it is. It might take a few turnarounds to wrestle around getting out of the control of those traditional bankster cabal elites to basically then bring it back around. So just keep watching. We're going to keep watching. Huge wins. That with the World Pandemic Treaty alone is just amazing. And this thing with Anna Paulina Luna basically saying we're going to, that we need to not just fire Jay Powell, Jerome Powell, we need to prosecute him. And she's talking about him lying to Congress, about the massive remodel of the Federal Reserve, okay, where they're creating these private elevators for all the different big up players, a huge, massive new dining room for the elites that are part of the Federal Reserve, just huge, huge, huge amounts of marble and just incredibly expensive material, where Jerome Powell had gone before Congress and said the opposite. He said, we're not doing any of those things. And I think they originally had like a $500 to $700 million budget, which is already insane. And now it's $2.5 billion budget. Okay. And it's like, as we're trying to destroy the Fed, they're creating like what is a massive castle for themselves. I mean, it almost looks like a money laundering operation, except that you would imagine they're probably building some massive bunker, okay, inside the Fed that will survive whatever they think is coming to hit the USA. That's what it sounds like to me, okay, is that they are building this castle bunker of the Fed to protect against something that they think is coming to hit the USA. And I don't like to end on that kind of depressing note, but it is, two and two, you put it together. So we keep praying, we keep doing our thing here locally, just getting involved in all the ways you can. And of course, prayers and your connection to God and your telic center there and your total, Holy Spirit infusion is the most powerful way, with your heart resonance, reaching out to all the other people out there who are aligned with God and are the same thing, putting out peace and putting out a defeat of the bankster cabal and their global private-public partnership of the corporate takeover. This is what we can do, but local action is so important. So I'm going to leave it there. It's a Friday evening. I just wanted to make sure I got with you here today. And if you found something, if there was information in here that added to your value, added to your understanding, and you want to support the channel, there's ways to do so below. And I so appreciate it. Keeps the channel going. I could do more videos with more support. So just saying that. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend, that you get off devices besides taking action. So important, but also, have that family and God and nature time with your children and animals and grandchildren and families and neighbors and barbecues and great stuff that America is made of, to just lift that vibe, just lift that God vibe and keep us on the heart resonance of moving forward to save America. And I also want to thank my sponsor, c60evo.com /YAFTV. Use the code YFTV for 10% off. This is, of course, the incredible molecule that gets into your mitochondria, right across the blood-brain barrier, into your neurons, cleaning out the garbage to have cellular health, promote the health of your DNA, the repairing of your DNA, your telomeres lasting longer. But basically, cellular health is health, and you need to take the garbage out, especially from the assault we're under, whether it's the microwaves, the shots, the et cetera, the poisons, the geoengineering. And of course, the wonderful thing about this exact product, c60evo.com /YFTV, code YFTV for 10% off. But there's a different code and link sent to you. If you contribute to the channel, you get 15% off. But this is the exact formula made by these same men in Houston, Texas, that made this formula, the ESS60 molecule, meaning ultra pure carbon 60, that's 100% purified, in the best lab in the world in Houston, Texas. That was used in the anti-radiation studies that proved that that in rats that they live 90% longer being radiated, okay, than normal rats, and they died with no tumors, etc. So it's bought up by the caseload by the big C, the big C clinics, etc. And it just fights inflammation. It's great for your workouts, gives you stamina, clear thinking, better mood, and just makes you feel better, better energy and focus during the day, and then sleeping better at night. So Again, check them out, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Code YAFTV for 10% off. Thanks for watching, everyone, today. And, let's not be too worried. This is, we're so now just so, we have so much information available to us. And for people like me who have just been dug into information for decades, this is normal. Okay. And so everybody is just like, whenever there's a new threat, a new horrible thing, it's just like, oh my God, what do I do? And what I would do is turn off the news. Okay. Don't get overwhelmed. It's always like this. Okay. There's always a million bad players out there, and there is a giant, huge force of good players going against them. And so these things are continuously whirling around. And that's why your prayers, your investment in your communities, your action in your communities is so important, because it's that grounding point, okay, of that God energy that helps to stop this force, the evil of Cartel Babylon. Don't doubt it for a moment. Don't get overwhelmed. Just take a break, okay? Step back in. Go with what you're aligned with. The thing that you really aligned, that you feel in your heart and soul is like, oh, I can do this. Then go do it. Don't hesitate, okay? But also take your breathers and just keep going on, because you are free. And that's the most important thing, is maintain that freedom. Don't get captured by the news, or the bad news especially. Exercise your freedom and create joy in your life. That is the number one thing. So important. So you are free, and I'll see you Monday, unless something massive happens. Okay, you are free. Be well.